Welcome to the Waterboy and Equipment Manager podcast. My name is Saif Basaria.
My name is Shaman Zamani.
My name is Nabil.
I'm Case Charania.
You know, for all the new listeners we have, thanks to, the NBA finals and stuff, they don't realize that you guys are actually sniping each other. They just think we're really bad at coordinating. And that's a little more disappointing to me. But so the Lakers are NBA champions. I have to start the podcast this way because it just feels so awesome. And it is our first podcast since the night of the Laker coronation ceremony. But let's go ahead and start by plugging the socials, considering I was told that I'm really bad at doing these things.
Someone got butthurt in the group chat.
My co-hosts consistently come after me about forgetting to plug the socials. So I will start with that. Nabil, can you plug the YouTube real quick for me?
YouTube.com/The Waterboy and Equipment Manager podcast.
Safe, hit me with that Instagram.
It is at Waterboy Equipment Manager.
Waterboy and Equipment Manager. Shaman, hit me with that Twitter.
Twitter is at Waterboy Manager.
That's the one. Ask me Twitter.
This is why we come after you.
I know the Twitter.
I know you know Twitter. That's why I asked you Instagram.
Well, I try. Anyway, so today's episode is going to be a little bit different from obviously the episodes that you as a listener are used to. All we did was talk NBA finals after every single game. Prior to that, we did a lot of discussing current news as well as big story topics. Today, we're actually just going to mix the big story topics and current news and discuss the things that we kind of missed in the last week with coaching hires and other moves that are going on in the NBA. The upcoming weeks are obviously going to be us talking about the draft and team outlook and maybe team recaps, and then definitely free agency and then getting ready for next season. So that's what the next few episodes after today are going to be. But today especially is going to be about some hirings and firings and quittings that happened in the last 10 or so days. We did take a week off, so we're gonna go back and hit a few of those. So we're just gonna call this segment the one that we always do, our weekly segment, which is, that's right, if you don't know, now you know. It is back, and I have missed it dearly, as I'm sure you guys have. We worked really hard for those post games, but now if you don't know, now you know is back. And the first thing,
some late nights, man.
Dude, hey, they really were. We would start midnight East Coast to record. But honestly, I think it was some of our best stuff thus far. I had it was so fun just like talking about football and
it's definitely some of our more fun episodes that we've done.
It is quite literally never happened in which we got to sit and discuss one singular basketball game in depth for 30 minutes. Yeah. We usually discuss the whole trove of a week. So it was really fun, and it was a very different change of pace.
Yeah. Shout out to our listeners for actually listening to us talk about individual games.
That was some of the best numbers we did since the bubble started and all those post games, and I think that was freaking awesome. So thank you for listening. Absolutely.
And shout out to our special guest who joined us.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's get started. Like I said, if you don't know, now you know. Doc Rivers was let go by the Clippers about 3 weeks ago now, and about 2 weeks ago, quite literally like 3 days after he got let go, if maybe not even less, he picked up a 5-year deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, if the Clippers weren't inept to begin with, firing Doc was probably the right move, or at least a defensible one. However, when firing a head coach with a long tenure and respect that is Doc Rivers, you would think that a team has something lined up almost immediately. The Clippers did not seem to do so because it took them an additional 2.5 to 3 weeks to then find out and hire the guy that was already in their freaking building. But we'll get to the Clippers. Let's discuss Doc Rivers to the Philadelphia 76ers. Good hire, bad hire, neutral hire? What are you guys thinking?
I'm not sure because it's a great idea in a sense, but we don't know how that team's going to look after the draft during free agency.
Well,
I am ambivalent towards it. I mean, he did blow
for those of us
3-1 leads.
Don't know what that means. What does ambivalent mean?
Mixed feelings.
There you go.
I have mixed feelings about it.
I read at a 4th grade level, bro. Come on.
It's fine. Most Americans can't read above a 3rd grade level.
I'm okay. Indian.
Well, you're Indian American. It counts. But
no, I was born in India, bro.
Okay, we're a basketball podcast. Jesus Christ, guys. Why are you ambivalent or otherwise mixed feelings towards the hire of Doc Rivers?
I do understand the legit criticisms about Doc Rivers, about the fact that he blew 3-3-1 leads in his career, which is pretty unheard of.
Fucking fantastic, bro. The Clippers blew a 3-1 lead.
Twice. They blew it with Chris Paul and they blew it with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, which is just
second time
incredible.
A lot worse than the first time, and I didn't even think that was possible.
Philadelphia 76ers, boys. That's what we're talking. Shaban, continue, please.
But like, generally speaking, like as a coach, players really like Doc Rivers. He's a great locker room presence. He's a culture setter. And if there's one thing that Philly really struggled with during the season, it's culture. And it's like a sort of a sense of discipline. When Philly played at home and they played against with that Philly crowd, they were one of the best teams in the NBA. They were probably like they're probably a team like on par with, for lack of a better comparison,
27-4 at home.
Jeez.
Yeah.
They were one of the best teams in the NBA, no question about it. You're right.
Yeah, second best offensive rating, second best defensive rating when they play at home. And when they play away on the road, they are just one of the trashiest teams I've ever seen.
I believe the number was 14-21.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's told us that before the bubble started again.
Yeah, we talked about how they were going to struggle because this wasn't a home game every game. And I mean, they did. I mean, among other things, obviously injuries and shit got in the way. But Nabil, what do you think? Doc Rivers, good fit, bad fit, ambivalent fit, apparently?
I mean, I completely agree with Shaban. My question is, and I didn't think about the culture thing, so I'm glad you brought that up, Shaban, because I genuinely wasn't thinking about it. But what does Doc Rivers bring, especially with his resume? Obviously, yes, he does have a ring, and that makes sense. But what does he bring that Brett Brown didn't? They're both coaches that didn't know how to coach in crunch time. They were both coaches that didn't know how to develop their players properly. I don't really understand the hire from that perspective.
Well, one can look at film and actually dissect what the hell is happening. Brent Brown is famously not able to even watch film. The most basic necessity to be a basketball coach, supposedly, allegedly, Brent Brown could not do. Jimmy Butler left for said reason, among others, right? So at absolute minimum, they have a competent basketball coach, right?
Sure.
But he does, like Shaban said, bring culture and bring this sense of player positivity, and players do seem to like him a lot. And I've spoke really good things about him over the years. I'm not a big fan of the hiring, but I understand the need to do so, right? There needs to be an understanding of a system of some sort, of an understanding of how to play the game and how to come at it. If there is a coach that will better put the two of Embiid and Simmons together to make them seem like a more cohesive unit, there are definitely good options out there. Doc Rivers is not one of them. He's definitely a good option because players seem to listen and like him well enough to try to get these guys to understand how to play off of each other better. They're obviously very good basketball players, but the question has been for 3+ years, which one do you keep?
How do they work together?
Which one do you keep? And I think that Doc Rivers signing a 5-year contract with the 76ers explains that he's going to have a large say in what the future of this franchise looks like.
Yeah, and there are plenty of issues with the Philadelphia 76ers, from their roster to their front office to their overall
salary cap.
Elton Brand.
Salary cap.
But hiring Doc Rivers is a good start to sort of remediating all that.
I hope so. I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's a bad hire. It's not the best hire possible, but again, it's not so bad that we need to sit here and criticize the hire. There are definitely, other hires that are more in question than this one.
All right, since you bring that up, who do you think is a hire that would have made sense?
That would have made sense over Doc?
Yeah.
I don't know about a more sensible hire, but I do know that Joel Embiid's first choice.
I wouldn't say sensible.
Well, I know my Joel Embiid's first choice was Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think Joel Embiid can play in a Mike D'Antoni system.
Yeah, that's.
I don't. Yeah, he would have to really condition himself. But I mean, look, Shaban wasn't implying Mike D'Antoni was a better hire. He was saying that was Joel Embiid's choice. I think a really, really good hire is Kenny Atkinson for this team. Kenny Atkinson has proved in his New Jersey net days, Brooklyn net days, that he can capitalize on obviously good players, but also players that are just decent. And I think the Philadelphia 76ers, besides Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and even Tobias Harris, who I think is a very good basketball player, or at least well above average basketball player, even if he's overpaid, we know this. There are a bunch of guys that they are going to add, if not already have, that are fringe guys, that are average to slightly above average, that Kenny Atkinson has proven in his couple of years in Brooklyn to capitalize on those kinds of talents. And so I thought that he would be a good hire. But if you're a listener of this podcast for quite some time, since he's been fired, I have been a fan of trying to get him hired somewhere else
I was
with
about
some
to
young
ask you,
stars.
isn't it kind of weird to you that he doesn't have a job yet?
It's not ultra shocking simply because Kenny Atkinson, from all that I've read and understood about him, is looking for a very particular style of basketball team. He wants to coach young guys, not veterans who more so understand their place in the league and will play like it. He wants to kind of mold a team like grassroots style. And so I think that I understand that he's not taking just any job. That's why I think, one of the jobs that was a really good opportunity for him could have been the Chicago Bulls, for example. However, they got Billy Donovan, who's also probably is the best coaching job he could have done this past year with Chris Paul in that squad. So
Pelicans' job could have been good for him too.
I don't love the Pelicans job for Atkinson. Not that he isn't a good fit. I just like the guy that they got better, which we'll get to.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, but I know that you're not saying that Atkinson is better than SVG, just that he's also a good fit. And I think that Atkinson can be comped as a good fit anywhere with young guys who need to develop and understand how to grow in the NBA. But anyway, talk to the Sixers. Let's do this because I think it'll be more interesting from our perspective. Let's go ahead and rate it out of 10. How do we feel about this hire? How do we feel about the fit? How do we like it? I'll start because I know I just sprang this up on you guys, so I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. I think it's a 8 out of 10.
I'll go 7.
I'd say I go about the same. I would say about 8.
Okay. Case, you said 7 out of 10?
Yeah.
You're gonna say like a 4.
I'll go 7 out of 10 because I will give Shaban.
Feels like I was about to be
I was not thinking about the culture aspect, and that is a very valid. So I'll give him a 7 out of 10.
It feels like I was about to be a dick and give it like a 3.2.
I was gonna give it.
Before we continue on to new coaching hires, y'all want to hit a team that doesn't have a coach?
Sure. Yeah. Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Houston.
Well, let's talk about what changed in Houston and then talk about what goes. Yeah, fair. So obviously they let Mike D'Antoni, run out his contract and walk on a free. Mike D'Antoni currently does not have a job, last I remember, correct? After I'm sure that he will. He just currently doesn't. And then Daryl Morey, genuinely surprisingly, stepped down from the position. It doesn't seem like he was fired. It doesn't seem like there was anything. He said he just wants to spend more time with his family. And quite frankly,
do you think he actually stepped down?
I think he did. I think he genuinely saw the writing on the wall. And I think after the whole Hong Kong situation with Daryl Morey over a year ago now, by the way, because we're in October, I think there was already some tension between him and Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Rockets. And I think that he just felt like, you know what, this team isn't going to get all that much better. And I used to have the leverage, and now James Harden seems to have more leverage than Daryl Morey. And that's enough, because this owner did not hire Daryl Morey. Let's remember that, right? This owner did not have any tie to keeping him around. And so I'm sure he won't cry, but that is one of the better GMs in basketball that he lost. And I think that he's going to take a step down.
So apparently, after Morey stepping down, the Rockets lost out on a potential group of huge candidates for head coach.
I mean, that's not ultra shocking. That's not ultra shocking. There's probably a lot of those coaches were analytic-based coaches because that seems like the right way for the Rockets to go. It's a system that they've embraced for.
Daryl Morey loved.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so now once you lose out on the ultimate, the penultimate GM that is analytics based, the analytics coaches, the ones that rely heavily on that or enjoy that, are probably not going to be as excited. Shaban, the Rockets are apparently not a destination for you anytime soon, buddy. But look,
it never was.
Daryl Morey, when he wants a job, whenever that is, I'm sure he'll have one waiting for him at the doorstep by many different teams. But look, now there's a head coach available and there's a general manager available in the Rockets, and they've got James Harden and Russell Westbrook and a hodgepodge of a bunch of interesting guys. Kays, now talk to me. What do you think?
Honestly, I don't know where the Rockets go from here. First off, you have to find a GM to make moves. And then you have to find a coach that is willing to work with what you have. And right now for the Rockets, it's James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and that clearly didn't work.
Well, yeah, sure.
I think this is going to be one of the tougher hires for the Rockets simply because you're kind of sticking that coach into a very hard spot. You know, he has to deal with what he has. Case touched on it. The experiment may not have worked, but you're kind of saying for the next couple of years, you're not going to be able to develop anything. There's nothing that's going to happen here. You know, we're just going to have to keep running it back and seeing what happens. And that kind of sucks for any coach. And they don't want to deal with that because if they don't perform, which they probably won't, I think that's fair to say, they're just going to have to take all the blame for no reason. And therefore, no coach is really going to want to come to Houston because they're taking blame for no reason.
So, okay, here's my 2 cents. And I think that it's important to understand with Daryl Morey leaving, with Mike D'Antoni leaving, that entire system that the Rockets have embraced for the better part of at least 3 or 4 years at this point, you know, small ball to then micro ball back in February when they traded Capella, that's likely also gone too. It gives them the chance to bring in a new style of basketball. Let's remember, James Harden is not necessarily the catalyst for this style of basketball. It was Daryl Morey, it was Mike D'Antoni, and really Daryl Morey more than anybody else, small ball. He was the one who kind of worked and introduced that new system. So when they leave, James Harden can now play the basketball that he has wanted to likely play for quite some time. Let's remember, James Harden was absolutely lethal shooting elbow jumpers, right? He was absolutely lethal doing a turnaround J from the elbow all the time. He loved it. It was one of his best shots in his arsenal. And then he just stopped shooting them. He stopped shooting all mid-range twos. And we understand that to be a less efficient shot in basketball. But as proven by the 2 finals teams and Jimmy Butler specifically, it doesn't mean that you have to completely get rid of it. It just means that you should be better at it. Anthony Davis shot 50% on those shots. That's a pretty good number, I'd say, right? And so these ideas of small ball and micro ball are likely out the door with Daryl Morey, which means that the new general manager and the new coach can bring in a new system that could be potentially more of a better fit for the Rockets going forward. Because, yeah, you're right. Small ball and even micro ball, but we only got a little bit of micro ball, so I'll cut a little slack. But small ball definitely hasn't worked for the Rockets for the better part of 3 years, right? And so what adjustments do we make as a team? Now a new general manager will get the chance to do that. Let's realize as a group that small ball is not necessarily tied to the Rockets now that Daryl Morey is gone. Now they have the ability to choose not to play that or choose to play that. They can. They have the personnel apparently, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. Like I think that they'll adjust and no longer play the version of basketball that we're used to seeing them play because I think they have learned it is an imperfect system that unfortunately.
I get where you're coming from with that, but you have to realize they don't have the personnel to not play small ball right now. That's where getting that new GM and them making moves becomes a big deal. Because in order for them to make moves, they don't have first round picks for the long time. I think it's next 4 or 5 years.
Well, I mean, it's every other year, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I believe they have by Stepien rule they can only trade every other year, so they'll have the in between years.
Which isn't great if you're wanting to rebuild a team. You want those early picks if you're not going to be good. And then they don't have that many viable assets to give up in order to obtain said good/great players.
David, look, I just saw an interesting trade on a Rockets blog the other day, and I was actually going to get a good. I thought, you know what? It's almost 12:15 Eastern time. I was like, you know what? Let me give you guys a good laugh. Apparently, Rockets fans, not Rockets fans, I take that back. This specific Rockets fan thought that they have a really good chance at acquiring Clint Capella. Not Clint Capella. John Collins on the Atlanta Hawks for Eric Gordon.
All right, get out.
That was a genuine. He said we can build a deal around Eric Gordon for John Collins and Kevin Huerter.
Stop. Just stop.
Interesting.
Nabil, you can't stop.
No, Nabil is completely off the rocker. He's like, that's the best. I mean, look, we know, but every fan base has the delusional writer or fan who thinks that, right? Laker fans think we're getting Bradley fucking Beal for Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green, right? So that's obviously not happening either. So everybody has those crazies in their fan bases. Okay, so you might be a part of the crazies.
We're talking about a 23, 24-year-old potential all-star.
He is an all-star. If he doesn't miss
and a back-to-back champion.
I'm sorry, what? I'm talking about Eric Gordon. I mean, John Collins.
Oh, I thought we were at fucking Kyle Kuzma.
No. We're discussing the Houston Rockets and Eric Gordon being traded for John Collins and Kevin Huerter. Look,
you can keep him. You can keep.
Yeah. Apparently, look, let's recall that they just extended Eric Gordon this past summer for I believe 3 additional years. At the end of that contract, he's making $22 million.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather just
Yeah.
give John Collins the max.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd rather just give John Collins the max than have 35-year-old, 34-year-old Eric Gordon making $22 million on the Atlanta Hawks, who are probably one of, if not the youngest.
That's a Joe Johnson-esque contract right there.
Whoever wrote this blog, please do some research.
No. Keep writing dumb shit. We're going to get hired before them at a bigger conglomerate.
Also, yes.
Keep writing dumb shit, people. Lower competition. No, but look, all jokes aside, you are absolutely right, Kays, in saying that they need a new GM so they can actually have a chance at getting players. And with free agency potentially in December, a month and a half to 2 months away, yeah, they got to do some shit pretty quickly. And Tillman Fertitta has been known as someone who is kind of a penny pincher. And with COVID and him being in the restaurant and casino business, he has been reportedly, allegedly, hurting a lot economically. And so these things might lead to not the best hires or maybe amazing hires because he made penny pinching decisions and didn't get the big names. But they're going to hire somebody soon.
Would you guys say that them hiring a GM would be more important right now, just for the success of the Rockets in the future, than their head coaching hire right now?
Oh,
Yeah.
without question of a doubt.
Yeah.
Because you can't really hire a head coach that isn't in
GM.
line with your GM's way of play.
I agree.
The only thing I would be interested in understanding is the GM should, because if they wanted to, I'm not saying that they will, or even if that they should, but if they wanted to, they could definitely trade James Harden. I do not think they could actually trade Russell Westbrook for anything.
Not with that.
No, but I'm saying
contract.
they could, but not for anything that would help their team any more than he himself does presently, right? And so this general manager, I think, should understand that it is heavily important to have Russell Westbrook and James Harden in your future plans for at least the next 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Because there have been, again, I'm reading on Rocket stuff all the time. They want to trade Russell Westbrook and they want to move on to a different phase, and that sounds nice and dandy. Except for I don't know how realistic that is. They don't have picks to give up, right? And there's not, I don't think, a multitude of teams lining up to go get Russ at $45 million in 2 years from now. So whoever the GM needs to be able to realize this and plan for the future with those likely 2 guys on that team. Everybody else can change. Those 2 guys are probably still going to be there.
Agreed.
Shaman, what do you think as far as the GM hire? Obviously, I'm not asking like names and shit, but what do you think the GM can do or should do? As day one gets in the building, and what number one thing he should do or she should do?
I mean, like first thing is get a coach, right? But
yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I think that I don't think so microball was a failure. We can all agree on that. But it did like provide some like interesting results. It did show that the Rockets were able to like play a lot faster. They were able to switch on defense a lot quicker. So like overall, like they were able to keep up as far as pace is concerned with like the other team. It's just that when push came to shove, especially against the Lakers, the size or the lack of size really did hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would assume that
why not just fucking run it back, and then why not just run it back and sign one center who can play big if they want to give that look? Because the difference was that they didn't even have the opportunity to give that look the way the team was constructed this year. Run it back, get a center, a guy who's good enough, and then let him say, hey, you're going to ride the bench until we need you to play big. And then I'm
glad you mentioned that, because there is one center who is sort of undersized, but he can he's capable of playing quickly. He scored in double digits this year, and he's probably one of the better rebounders.
Don't you dare say John Collins, I'll fight you.
It's not John Collins. It's Tristan Thompson, because he's a pretty decent role man. He can defend on a pretty decent level. He can grab boards like freaking crazy. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league.
Definitely.
And he's also making a lot of money this year, and he also made a lot of money this year, and he's probably not going to be making a lot of money next year.
Potentially, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, they can offer him $8 million.
Yeah,
Right?
like right now, like
That's
he made $18 million this year.
Well, he
and I
got he
can,
got the he got the
he
clutch
got the
deal when
LeBron treatment.
LeBron
yeah, he
Max.
got
Yeah,
the LeBron buddy treatment when LeBron was over there, and this is the end of that deal.
yeah.
It was like
Also,
4 years, 60 million or $70 million. It was nuts.
yeah.
Chris,
So
not Chris is not
someone else also mentioned Christian Wood, but he will
I don't think that's
probably
happening. Yeah, I don't
he
think
will probably demand a higher price tag.
I think
'cause
so. I think Christian
know,
Wood's gonna get paid. Not like ridiculous, but he'll get more than $8 million.
yeah,
the
he'll probably
Rockets
get
don't.
like a $15 million like a
That
year.
that would not shock me at all.
Yeah,
It'd be- what
Christian Wood is one of the best. Well, he solidified himself as one of Detroit's best big men. He can shoot the three. He can defend really well. He can rebound. He's kind of like a jack of all trades. Like as
I
far
also
as a
don't
big
think
man is
Detroit will
concerned.
let him walk. There's not a whole lot of bright spots going on over there right now. They're gonna keep.
Well, guys, we're not talking Detroit. Let's stick with the Rockets because we're already running long. We
Yeah,
got to the next team.
yeah.
But yeah, look,
So
I mean,
it's a delicate situation.
the Rockets have, I think, a lot of things to do, but honestly, this is also an exciting time, right? How often is it that you get to, have a guy like James Harden and Russell Westbrook both on the team for another 3 years, and then have a chance at implementing a new coach, a new GM, and a brand new system? It doesn't happen every single day. So, Rockets fans, I'm sure. Look, I know Rockets fans. We know Rockets fans who are happy that D'Antoni isn't there. Maybe not so much with Daryl Morey, but they're happy D'Antoni is gone. So let's see what comes of it. Let's move on. The Clippers of Los Angeles, they obviously fired Doc. He got a job 3 days later. They did not have a head coach replacement right away. It looks like they interviewed a genuine ton of options and then hired the guy that was already inside the building as the assistant coach. Tyronn Lue is now accepted to deal with the Clippers. I actually don't know how long this contract is. I want to say 4 years.
The 5-year deal.
A 5-year. Thank you, Shaban. So 5-year deal, which I think is a really big vote of confidence for a guy that they had under their belt for a year and then didn't hire almost immediately, which seems like maybe due diligence or just they weren't sure about Tyronn Lue. So to go from I'm not sure to then 5-year deal, it's a bit different. It's questionable, I think.
Yeah, I think they interviewed like
It's
some of the
definitely a new
assistants around the
outlook.
league.
And I mean, truly, as a Laker fan, call me out if I'm being biased here. I don't want to talk shit about the Clippers if it's not deserved. I just simply think that if you had a guy try out more or less for a job for over a year, and then you let your head coach go, and then you freaking went to 10 other people to interview and then hired the one guy that you already had for a year, that's not the biggest vote of confidence to me, is it?
Not at all, no. And I think it's more of a power move than anything
On
because
who's
everyone on the Clippers.
Well, they gave him 5-year deal. Who cares? Fuck your power move.
Yeah.
You gave him 5 years.
Tyronn Lue won in the end.
Yeah,
He'll
Tyronn
get
Lue
paid
got what he
for it.
wanted in the end. He got that Steve Ballmer Microsoft money. I'm sure his contract is quite nice. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's very nice.
Over the table, under the table, it don't matter.
Well, I mean, there's no salary cap against coaching payments, so it can be completely, done.
$50 million a year.
Yeah, well, he can get whatever the hell they're giving him. But Shawan, what do you think about what does Tyronn Lue bring to the sideline of the Clippers that apparently Doc Rivers did not, or maybe just the change that he'll make on the team?
I don't know.
Fair. Well, no,
Mondays.
look, that is very fair because that was my initial reaction as well. But talk us through what you're not so sure of or what you don't know.
I don't know what he brings that Doc Rivers didn't. I mean, he's a player's coach, that we saw that in
Check.
Cleveland.
Doc Rivers also was check mark, right?
Yes, but I don't really know like what else, what could he be doing differently? He did say that the Clippers fell apart in the end because of chemistry issues. And
It's interesting, isn't it?
which is really interesting. And I just don't know. Like, I mean, he brought on Chauncey Billups to be the lead assistant for the Clippers. So that's really interesting.
That's
to
one of the
see.
most interesting points that I actually think you and I, Shaban, were sitting one night and it happened and you had told me about it. Chauncey Billups, not too long ago, quite literally, a calendar year ago, was in line for general manager positions in
Mhm.
multiple front offices in the NBA, including Cleveland and now New Orleans before they got David Griffin. And he went from that to an assistant coaching position.
Yeah,
I'm
not
not
really too
completely
what happened.
sure. Yeah, I really thought that he would be a good team chemistry, team builder. And it seems as though his interest is more in coaching, which is fine. But it's an interesting adjustment from I want to be a GM, I'm putting my hat in the ring, is what he said, to now assistant coach of the Los Angeles Clippers.
You have to remember a couple months ago, he says, I want to coach a team.
Yeah, it's a very interesting.
Right around the Steve Nash hiring, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, you know what? You might be right. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember something similar from Chauncey coming out. Look, I think it's a fine hire. My only concern is, like Shaban said, these guys all seem like player coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have never
When
seen
do you need a basketball coach to come in?
exactly. We have never seen Tyronn Lue successfully coach a basketball team that does not have the greatest basketball player of a generation on it, LeBron freaking James, right? And the one year he did, he got fired because it didn't work out for them, among other things, it seems. But he's a good coach. He's fine. I'm just not sure what he brings to the table, like Shaban said, that Doc Rivers did not, and that's why I asked you, Shaban, in the hopes that you could tell me something that I wasn't understanding, because I'm not sure. The Clippers built a basketball team this year to beat the Lakers, right? That was the intent for them, and they didn't get to even play the Lakers because they lost to the Nuggets. Because Case, they blew. Did you know that they blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets?
No
Oh,
way.
yeah. I
Wait,
just
wait,
want-
wait, wait, wait. How many games up were they?
They were up 3-1, and then they blew a 3-1 lead.
They were up 17 points
Oh.
during Game 7, by the way. Don't forget.
Oh my god.
But anyway,
can't
sorry.
believe
Back to
that.
basketball, actual talk. I'm not. They built an entire team with the hopes to beat the Los Angeles Lakers, and by the way, I'm sure it would have been a really good series had they made it to play the Los Angeles Lakers. It seems as though the hiring of Tyronn Lue is sticking in line with just trying to beat LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers again. And I hope that I'm missing something, but it just seems like we're running it back. At least right presently, that's what it seems like. Things could change.
I think one thing that they think, and I'm saying this is what I think they think,
Sure.
is that they think that Tyronn Lue knows LeBron to a whole nother level. I
I'm
mean,
sure he does.
he probably does, sure. And I think
Sure
the
he
other
does.
thing is they're hoping that
You know who
Tyronn Lue
probably
during
knew LeBron to a really, really good level? Eric Spoelstra, a better
Spoelstra.
coach than Tyronn Lue.
also facts.
How did that work out? I don't think LeBron got stopped very much in the NBA.
No. And the other thing is I think they're probably hoping he can balance out the chemistry issues, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because he was already there. So like, what exactly is he going to do differently now?
And that's truly why I question the hire altogether. I started this segment discussing that they had him in the building for over a year. He was there when they blew the 3-1 lead. Sure, you're not the head coach, but you're also not a nobody guy doing nothing and having no respect whatsoever. If you had a legitimate concern with the team, I'm sure that Doc Rivers is not an asshole. He seems like a pretty nice guy, honestly. I'm sure any concerns could have been handled. So I'm not completely sure what the hell Tyronn Lue is going to do now that they didn't do against the Nuggets or even against the Mavericks, in which case if Kristaps was healthy, I still maintain that series might have been
They
more
would have
competitive.
lost.
I don't know if they would have lost, but I think it would have been a much more competitive basketball series, knowing what we know now about the chemistry issues, apparently. They got Montrez that's a free agent. They got Lou Will, who is either washed, scared, or I don't know, a shell of himself in the
Or he
playoffs
missed Magic City, bro.
in the bubble, right? Patrick Beverly talks the most shit, but has no ability to be on the court and play basketball games. So I don't even know if he actually plays basketball.
He
You know?
has the ability. He's just a bitch.
I don't know what to tell you. Like a report just came out just not that long ago, quite literally 2 or 3 days ago, that apparently Kawhi Leonard has gone to the front office and asked if they can get a point guard in to help them out in playmaking.
Which is
Yeah,
funny
the
to me.
memes were literally, I asked for a point guard, not PG.
Yeah, as for a PG, not PG. So like it's like you want a point guard. Well, you are a very good distributor, first off. So I don't expect you to play point guard, but you definitely can create offense. You choose not to or whatever, fine. You have apparently Pat Bev, who you were excited to play with before, and you left Kyle Lowry, you left Tony Parker, and now you are here with Pat Beverly, and you're like, oh, I had a luxury this whole time, right? And then you've got Lou Williams, who's an absolute microwave oven off the bench. So yes, these are not the traditional point guard that I'm sure you would like to have, but do the Clippers have moves?
You
to
had
make?
guards, bro.
Do the Clippers have moves to make? Truly, do they? Can they improve this team and adjust?
Well, so I was
I
gonna
mean,
ask,
I genuinely don't think so.
I genuinely disagree with you, Case, but I
Yeah.
want to hear from Nabil.
I don't-
I say something.
I think
Yeah,
they
Nabil, go ahead.
run. Chris Paul's contract is how much this coming year?
Like $40 million ish.
40
40
million
plus.
I don't know the exact number, but it's about 40-ish.
40-ish million, right? And you have to, what does it say if you have to get up to within, what is it, 10%?
It has to be within 10%, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's still highly unlikely.
I don't
but
know how they get to that number. How do you get to
I
40?
don't like where this is going.
Look, I'm only saying if he's asking for a point guard, what options do they have? Right? They either make a trade or they sign someone that's not going to be good enough for him anyway.
Well,
Who's
they're gonna have to make a trade, right?
Yeah.
You know the weird thing is he wants a point guard. Didn't they get Reggie Jackson off the freaking trash heap?
Yes.
$1 million.
And then Reggie Jackson is they decided to switch on Luca, and Luca nutted in his face for that.
So I'm not entirely sure they had Reggie Jackson. I think Bobby Schmurda was in the bubble.
And by the way, that's what Case brings to the podcast.
Right, but like outside of
Also, great basketball opinions. Fuck you guys.
Look, you came after me earlier today. For those that don't know, he came after me on our group
Yeah,
chat.
off the
This is-
pod.
This is just me returning
This
the
is
favor.
on air. I was being cordial and polite.
Case gave the most backhanded compliment we could ever hear, and honestly, that's a good thing from Case.
Look, if I'm gonna talk my shit, I'm also gonna be honest. His compliment was also true about me. So, and he, by the way, proved his point as soon as the podcast started today. So, I'm only talking shit for the sake of talking shit. I don't have much leg to stand on this one. But anyway, look, I do think the Clippers have moves to make, or they can have moves to make. There is a sign and trade of Montrezl Harrell. They can move on from guys like Landry Shamet, who are definitely assets. They have Zubac, who's an asset that I'm sure other teams would like to have, i.e., maybe the Houston Rockets would love to have a guy like Zubac. So you know,
Well, I mean,
they
mean,
have
they
Area
have
Mavericks?
moves to make. It's just a matter of like, will they? Because honestly, the whole them just deciding to just sign Tyronn Lue as the head coach. I guess it's more really of a sign more than anything that they don't really want to rock the boat. They just kind of want to run it back.
Oh, I really don't know if they. I don't know. I get where you're getting that opinion from, and I'm not saying you're wrong. As a matter of fact, you're probably more right than not. But like, I cannot imagine this team in its current iteration being an NBA champion. There needs to be moves made. The first of which is getting a sports psychologist for Paul George. I'm not. No. I'm not being an ass. I'm being 100% serious. We all agree Paul George is a very, very good basketball player. The Paul George that we saw
Until the playoffs.
exactly, and they need to fix that because Paul George is better than what he displayed, 100 times better than what he displayed in this bubble, in the playoffs. Devin Booker nutted on him in the
last year's
regular
playoffs.
season. Yeah, and look, by the way, if we go look at the numbers, Paul George has not been a garbage playoff player his entire career. It is just as of the last 3 years or so, or maybe 2 years or so.
Ever since he called himself Playoff P.
And so there needs to be something to change with Paul George because honestly, that team is not going to be successful without him being the second best player on the basketball team. Kawhi, you could have had it all. You could have been a Laker. That's all I'm saying.
No
Let's move
questions
on.
asked.
Let's move on. The most, I think, exciting hire of the week. The news dropped, I believe, yesterday or Wednesday at this point because we're talking now. It's well past midnight. Stan Van Gundy to the New Orleans Pelicans. Stan Van Gundy, one of the best basketball commentators we've had in a long time.
Unfortunately, is retiring from Twitter.
Oh,
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Oh
No.
His Twitter was fantastic,
He was
bro.
All right, this is
really
all right. This is without a doubt the worst coaching hire we have so far.
because you're losing Twitter Van Gundy.
Yes, we're
He
losing.
was great, bro.
Look, Shaban, you still have Jeff.
Yeah, but he's not as funny.
The lesser brother.
I'm not excited about Jeff. This man has the greatest sports agent in NBA history. That man has not coached a basketball team in 15 years, and how somehow his name is involved in every hire for no reason. Are we sure he can still coach basketball? Are we sure?
Does he know basketball? Because I'm listening to the commentary and my ears bleed when Jeff Van Gundy talks.
You're not wrong, but I think that comes from a place of I don't think he likes LeBron James and the Lakers, and I think that we're still learning.
I don't either. Well, I like the Lakers.
Okay. Anyway, Stan Van Gundy, the Pelicans. Nabil, thoughts? Good hire? Bad hire?
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Well, explain why. Why a 10 out of 10?
We've always, when I say we always, all of us have grown up in which he was a coach, right? He was a coach for Orlando for God knows how long before that whole Dwight Howard situation.
If you don't remember, Miami, then Orlando, and then Detroit.
Also facts, yes. I mean, when that whole Orlando situation happened with Dwight Howard, it was kind of unfortunate. I think he coached for a year or two after that, and then he left Orlando. He was a good basketball coach. I was always a really big fan of his. He kind of worked with whatever was given to him, and he made it happen. And I think this is a good coach for Zion. This is a guy that had Dwight Howard underneath his wing for what was it, the first 8 years?
8 or 9 years. Yeah.
He coached the Orlando Magic from 2007 2012, 5 years. It
5
definitely feels longer than that. I agree, but it was 5 years. And Dwight was drafted in '04, if I'm not mistaken. So he got
It was
Dwight.
04.
He got about third year Dwight.
Third year Dwight, and he really developed Dwight into where he was one of the best basketball players, probably top 10 player in the league when he was in Orlando.
There was a time where
Definitely. He single-handedly took that team to the finals.
Exactly.
He
So
wouldn't get that far, but he was the best big man in basketball, no question about it.
yes,
Under the tutelage of Stan Van
don't
Gundy.
disrespect Mikael Pietrus like that. Anyway,
Bro, Mikael Pietrus, Jameer Nelson, Hida Turkoglu, fucking Rashard Lewis. I can name that team.
yes.
Yeah, that
I'm
was.
actually a very big fan of that team.
I was actually looking at that. I was actually looking at that team on Basketball Reference like right now.
Yeah, that team was so sick it got Kobe its fourth ring.
And baby
Yes.
JJ Redick.
Hey, someone had to be sacrificed.
Oh, dude, they had JJ. I forgot about that.
Forgot that they had JJ, baby JJ. Anyway, Nabil, you were talking about
And Tyronn Lue. Irony is dead.
This is going to be a coach for Zion because Zion can truly learn how to play the position well, but also Ben Gundy hasn't just been sitting around not watching basketball or not paying attention. He's seen how the game has evolved. He knows what Zion's going to have to do to develop his game to become a true cornerstone and a piece for the Pelicans. And I actually think this is just a great hire for him. And hopefully, maybe on the side, he can work on the chemistry between Ingram and Zion. Not saying there's anything wrong between them, but they kind of look off on the court sometimes, and maybe he'll fix that as well. He seems like a good coach, player guy. So we'll see what happens.
Shaban, you want to
Huge basketball guy.
get in on this Stan Van Gundy hire? What do you think?
I cannot get over how good of a hire this is. Stan Van Gundy, I think what really sold the Pelicans on him is that how he is more of a kind of like a teacher, kind of like a mentor kind of role, even though he's never been like he's not like a former player, and he's
No,
a
he's not.
61-year-old man, as one of the as an anonymous league executive said. But like honestly, I think there's a lot that he can do with this team. I think that he can make this team very cohesive. And also this Pelicans team also like has some elements of that same 2009 Orlando team. You know, Brandon Ingram, sweet shooting big man, sweet shooting tall guy that can also run transition and distribute the ball.
Oh, God.
Zion
Rashard
Williamson,
Lewis.
dominant force in the paint,
Please,
stout point guards, and Drew Holiday.
please stop.
And
Whoa. Drew Holiday is a million times better than Jameer Nelson.
Drew Holiday, Jameer Nelson can't hold Drew Holiday's nuts. No disrespect, Jameer.
He might not be tall enough.
Shit. But anyway, I
Don't forget his nickname is Crib Midget.
We love
Shout out
Crib.
Players Anonymous. I miss you.
So, do you want to talk about Stan case? Anything different?
Look, I love Stan Van Gundy. He's always been a great coach, and he's a brilliant basketball mind. You can hear it when he's commentating on games. He sees stuff that other commentators don't see, and most people probably can't point out unless they're fully engrossed in basketball as their life. And he's smart. He knows how to put a team together. He knows how to gel a team together. No one could have told you that just with that team he had in 09, that he was going to take him to the fucking finals.
They were the underdogs in every series. They were through and through. Maybe not the first round, but yes, you get my point.
It's
yeah,
I think it's a great hire. I think you guys are
10 out of 10 for me.
You guys have nailed it. You guys have nailed all the points about it. I'm not gonna rehash it. I know, listener, you don't want to hear us all say the same thing. He's a great hire. I think the person that's going to benefit most from this hire is Lonzo Ball, because I think he has the most to benefit from this hire. Does that make sense? Ingram's already very good. Zion's clearly good when he's healthy. Lonzo has the most potential to still now fill.
Mhm.
I'm still holding Lonzo stock. I still believe he can be a very good player in this league. And so I hope that Stan Van Gundy can find that level of Lonzo and take it up for him. But yeah, I mean, obviously he helped develop the greatness that was Dwight Howard for the time that it was. Zion, I'm sure, is in very good hands. BI is already great. I'm not worried about
All-star Brandon Ingram. Hell yeah.
I still think personally they are 1 year away from being a legitimate playoff team, because we're not going to forget about the Warriors being healthy next year all of a sudden. But I think they're going to put up a hell of a fight, and I hope they keep the play-in tournament because it'll make it that much more fun.
Mhm.
That is an idea they definitely should dive into. That'd
Yeah.
be
Let's knock out the last three things, and then we can hit some quick hits if we want to. But Nate Bjorgren,
Bjorkgren. It's
Bjorgren.
Bjorkgren. Yeah.
Yeah, I've destroyed the name, but Nate is the new Pacers head coach. He was the assistant coach with Nick Nurse in Toronto. I don't know that much about him. I'm not going to even act like I do.
You want me to give you the rundown?
Well, let me say. However, if he is anything like Nick Nurse is and knows anything about Nick Nurse's system and coaching style, this is an amazing hire because everybody in this podcast is a big Nick Nurse fan.
Absolutely.
Okay, do the rundown.
All right. G League coach since 2004. Brief stint with the Suns, 15 to 17, then 3 years with the Raptors, won a ring. His only other accomplishment as a coach where he won a ring was they won the G League title, but he was also an assistant then. All his head coaching years have not been great,
Well,
but he has some tutelage from Nick Nurse now, so let's see.
I think that's the thing. That's kind of. I'm sure that the fact that he was the assistant coach for Nick Nurse in Toronto is a big reason why he got his name, his hat in the ring, and got a chance at this job. I hope that he's something like Nick Nurse because it will be really cool to see. This Pacers team is clearly a talented one. We know this. If Bubble TJ Warren didn't tell you all about it, let us tell you. But they are going to be a good basketball team going forward. They are a team that is expected to be in the playoffs every single year going forward. However, is Victor Oladipo in the future plans of the Indiana Pacers? Shaban Samani, your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, it does make it would
again, sir.
I really don't know because Victor Oladipo, he only started looking like kind of like himself in the last 3 games of that Miami series. So his stock is still pretty low. I think it's low enough for where you can still trade him. It's apparently Victor Oladipo is actually exploring going into free agency and or exploring leaving Indiana. So Indiana could actually just try to dump him and try to get something out of him before he just pieces out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green.
Why not? But I like the hire. The Raptors played with a lot of
almost 1 a.m. Fuck you, say.
the Raptors played with a lot of pace last year. They shot a lot of threes. Indiana is a good 3-point shooting team that did not shoot a lot of threes at all this season. And I think that they could do a lot. They can benefit a lot from more of an up-tempo offensive strategy, even though they are still a pretty good defense. They have nothing to really fix there, especially when Sabonis is healthy and Miles Turner comes back, stronger than ever. But I think the Pacers could benefit a lot from this hire.
Okay. All right, Case. You are now the general manager of the Indiana Pacers, and you have the decision. Should you trade one of Domantas Sabonis or Miles Turner, or should you just run out this season with both of them on the roster?
I just want to say I'm a huge Miles Turner fan, but I'd trade him.
This fan's about to get
I mean that's the choice. That's the only reasonable choice.
Sabonis in this system was an all-star. He played great for this team. Unfortunately, got hurt before the bubble, so we didn't see him there. But I do think right now that Sabonis is a better piece than Miles Turner for that team.
If you trade Miles Turner, I'm not going to ask for names because I don't think that's fair to just spring up on you. But if you do trade Miles Turner, what type of player are you hoping to get back in return? Maybe style-wise, or is it position-wise? What are you trying to improve?
I'd try to get a wing defender or a 3-and-D guy.
To play
because assuming they don't keep Oladipo, you're
okay.
going to need some support on the wings.
You're looking for maybe an Oladipo replacement style guy with the trade of Miles Turner. Potentially.
Potentially. I'm not saying I need an all-star or a former all-star, but I need someone of a good caliber to replace Oladipo.
And Nabil, you are now the general manager of the Indiana Pacers, and Victor Oladipo comes to you and says, hey, trade me before the season starts, whenever that may be, or give me a max contract right now. You do what?
I'm gonna tell Victor Oladipo that he's a shitty ass basketball player and then hand him a max deal because clearly when his back's against the wall, he plays the best. No, I'm just kidding. That's honestly a really good question.
That's why I asked you, sir. What are you gonna do? What do you do?
If I'm the GM and Victor Oladipo wants a max or he leaves, I'm picking up the phone.
You're gonna start making calls and try to get him out of there.
Yeah, I think I get rid of him
I love
just to
Victor
kind of support
Oladipo
Nabil.
this last season. I understand he was hurt. I hate knocking players for being hurt, but that has to be scary for Indiana, and for that reason, I'd pick up the phone. And
Now let's remember that Indiana, and this is again no offense to Indiana basketball fans, we're just talking honestly. Indiana is not a safe haven for marquee free agents. It's not like they're picking up big names every other day all the time, right? So letting Victor Oladipo go could be the end of having an all-star caliber player not named DeMontis Sabonis for a little while there. Shaban, do you agree with the decision? Should we trade Victor Oladipo or give him a max?
I would say trade him because he's probably gonna want to leave Indiana anyways.
Look,
So
I
you may-
can't quantify the max for Oladipo, and I hate bringing it up, but he hasn't been the same since he came back.
Yeah, his stock is still pretty low, and he's making $21 million this year.
If he takes his player option and he plays balls out, yeah, I'm gonna give him the fucking max deal after this year.
I do not. I will bet that, but I do not believe he has a player option. I think it's just like his contract, this one more year. Excuse me. I think it's just like he's got this one last year on his contract, and then he can walk as a free agent at the end of this coming NBA.
Yeah, it's just his last year.
Yep, $21 million, and then he's off to the races at 29 years old, which is basically the prime of his career. He's in the prime right now, assuming health, right? Which is kind of a big assumption with Victor Oladipo and the quad injury that he suffered, which is a big one. All right.
Yo, Atlanta though.
I don't mind. It depends on the number and it depends what it will cost. I'm not trading John Collins and Kevin Herter for Victor Oladipo, which apparently is a very popular trade package around the league, according to God knows what. But anyway, before we go, there's two more things I want to talk about. 2K21, the video game, has a next gen coming out with the new consoles in the holiday season in the next month or so. They're releasing a new game, which means they're releasing new ratings. Jimmy Butler is rated a 93 overall. Too high, too low, or just right?
Too low.
Just right.
Just right. Shaban?
Too low.
What should he be? LeBron James is the highest rated player in the in the game at a 98 overall. Just for context.
And I'm saying this with the context that Luka is at a 94 overall, and I think he's properly rated. But I would put Jimmy at 95
that I did not
overall.
know. I think it's too low now.
You think Jimmy Butler is better than Luka Doncic?
Yes.
Interesting. Nabil, Jimmy Butler 93, too high, too low, or just right?
I think it's just right. That whole Luka thing, sure, right now he's better than him, so that makes sense. But I think it's proper. 93. Where'd you say LeBron was again?
98.
98.
Yeah, only, what, 5 points lower than LeBron? That's accurate. Why not? That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing, this came out today via The Athletic. It is from a anonymous NBA player agent, but he's talking shit about Clutch Sports, the Rich Paul, LeBron James, business venture. And I just want to read you a little excerpt from this and then get your initial thoughts. Now, just for the listeners at home, none of these guys have read much about it. I think they have basic general idea of what's going on here, but I don't think any of them have read the excerpt or the article just yet. So I'm going to read to you really quickly a little bit of this thing just to give you an idea, okay? Now, I know it's this facade that it's Rich Paul, but really it's LeBron who recruits for Rich Paul. So it's almost like they're trying to control AAU at the NBA level. This is my AAU team, and they've carried that to the highest level. And because of his power and his prowess, people, the young players especially, are seduced by LeBron James in the same way people were seduced by Michael Jordan with David Falk. He went from having Michael Jordan and a few other players to getting top players in the NBA because of the Jordan factor. Rob Pelinka had tremendous success as an independent agent because he had Kobe. The players idolized him. So the fact that LeBron recruits and has empowered Rich Paul, and I get it, on the top. But if someone does their research, and a lot of these guys have really gotten screwed, a large number of them by mismanagement, there's at least 5 or 6 massive casualties. Nobody is saying anything And you can even say that the union should take some responsibility because they represent all the players, not just LeBron James. Because this is anonymous, I hope you have the courage to put this one out there because nobody is talking about this. But this really is an issue. And any other agent, if you ask any other agent what I just said, they would all agree. And he specifically refers to the KCP and Nerlens Noel deals. Nerlens Noel with the Dallas Mavericks. It was like a 4-year, $70 or $80 million contract that he was offered and he turned down. And KCP with the Detroit Pistons, who was offered, I'm not exactly sure what, but it was obviously not a 1-year deal, it was a longer term. What I will say, however, and then I'll let you guys give your opinions on it because I don't want to influence too much. Rich Paul and Clutch were not representing KCP or Nerlens Noel at the time of them declining those contracts.
If I remember correctly, actually, Nerlens Noel dropped his agent after declining that contract. That's actually how that went down.
That is accurate. So I will say that his choice of example might not have been the most accurate. But what do you think on his comments? Do you think that they are right, wrong, neither, both? I don't know. Shaban, do you want to
I think it's funny saying that Rich Paul got like screwed over his clients for millions of dollars when his clients are the only ones getting paid in the NBA right now, because considering that everyone else in the NBA had lost money when the season got postponed and got canceled. So I don't know. That's just funny to me.
Is no one else going to point out the funny fact that he tried to say that Rob Pelinka wasn't a good agent? I mean, we're seeing right now how good of a basketball and business mind that man actually is. You know, granted, he's helping him, so it kind of doesn't help there, but he knows what he's doing. He's perfectly capable of doing what he's doing. It's not surprising at all to me.
Kays, what do you think, man? What do you think about these comments?
I just found out about this maybe right before the pod, so I don't have a detailed description, but I think someone's jealous, bro.
That's exactly
yes. That's the vibe I'm getting too.
That's exactly my initial thought when I read this first. Tell us why. What do you think?
There's a lot of salt.
Why is anonymous agent here jealous? What's going on?
Because he doesn't have LeBron, he doesn't have AD, he doesn't have KCP, Nerlens Noel, Lonzo Ball, Ben Simmons, and so on and so
Draymond
forth.
Green got a max contract.
I'm hearing a lot of people get paid.
And you know, all I'm hearing is maybe this guy is fucking Admiral Schofield's agent.
Leave Admiral Schofield's name out your mouth, you motherfucker.
That's a throwback to when the Wizards were actually playing basketball.
Dude, that's too funny.
That's a lie. The Wizards never played basketball.
They didn't play it well, but they played.
You know what? I can't even argue there. So, you know, Shaban, jealousy, we discussed this. What are your thoughts? You clearly agreed with Kays, so what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of salt rubbed into this excerpt here. I mean, you know, he didn't just name drop Rich Paul and LeBron. He also name dropped Jordan, David Falk. He also name dropped Rob Pelinka and Kobe Bryant. So it's not really a coincidence that he just named all of these goats in their own right.
Who's Kawhi's agent?
It's Uncle Dennis. It's his uncle. No. I mean,
we sure Uncle Dennis ain't send this in?
I don't think so. Kawhi doesn't seem like that kind of jealous type. But you know what?
So this just kind of reminds me of fucking Ari Gold from Entourage.
What a throwback, my guy. Well, explain why this comes to mind.
So Entourage really put you in the back mind of the agent game when they was on, and Ari Gold is just a fucking baller. There's no doubt about it. But he had this one dude, I think his name is fucking Jeremy, that he used to have an intern. Then he took his job at his firm by spreading shit about Ari around to his clients. He tried to steal Vince. And no one wanted drama. God damn.
Well, Nabil, before we get out of here, what are your thoughts on this commentary from anonymous agent?
A lot of the same. It just sounds like you're just jealous. What your logic? I mean, Kay's just named all the players that have gotten paid through Clutch. So like, you saying a player getting screwed over makes absolutely no sense. And there's more good examples than bad. And no agent's ever going to get it right 100% of the time. If you do,
well, then you're Rich Paul. No, my only 2 cents is I agree with all the sentiment you guys have expressed. Absolutely, there's some jealousy here and lack of success, clearly. The only thing I wish he would have done is he said there were 5 to 6 casualties, but did not actually accurately name any one of them. I'm sure that they're out there. Like Nabil said, no agent, no human will hit 100% of the time. There will be mistakes. However, I'd like to know which ones Rich Paul missed on, because we're really only hearing. I mean, look, KCP, after signing with Clutch, got a 1-year, $18 million deal from the Lakers, followed by an additional, what do you get, like 15 or 10? Or KCP off just the Lakers alone has made 40 fucking million in the last 3 years or 4 years, right? So clearly his clients, even the not so great ones, get good money in the NBA. So I'm interested in seeing which ones he was referring to that got screwed. And he did not do that in this article. So I wish that, anonymous agent wasn't so anonymous, but I understand the need to be in the line of work that he is, because you don't want to double cross Rich Paul or LeBron James. They do definitely have the power and clout that he did say they do. That is absolutely true, I think. And I don't think many of us disagree with that statement.
I want to ask one last thing.
100%.
About people that may have gotten hurt because of these signings. So not necessarily the guys themselves, but people around them. Trades that might have happened or signings that might have happened that got another guy cut from the team or whatever the case may be. You might be talking about trades where Lonzo ends up in New Orleans.
I mean, you're talking about collateral damage here, and that comes with every move. You can't really look at it a certain way.
But I think maybe that's what he's talking about, because the signings by themselves just don't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to point that out and just say, hey, I'm not going to say anything else,
I mean, that's fair. Shaban, did you want to give some closing remarks before we get out of here, or are you in a good place, man?
No, I'm in a good place.
All right. Well, this concludes another episode of the Waterboy and Equipment Manager podcast. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. See ya.
Peace.
Bye.